Good afternoon. The time now is 12:30 on this Thursday. I'm Julie Broughton. This is Take 6. We are staying on top of some breaking news out of Tallahassee this afternoon. Just after 12 o'clock, Florida State University sent out this tweet saying an active shooter has been reported in the area of the student union. Police are on scene or on the way, continue to seek shelter and await further instructions. Lock and stay away from all doors and windows and be prepared to take additional protective measure. They sent out a second tweet just moments ago urging students and people in this area to continue to shelter in place. Police have responded to an active shooter at the student union, and they say that they will be sending out more information. We are working to get more information on this developing situation. We will continue to bring it to you throughout the afternoon, both here on News 6 Plus as well as on air and online on clickorlando.com. Now, we told you earlier this week that the Orlando police had cleared a homeless encampment off of John Young Parkway. This came just days after the city issued a violation notice to the owner of this property. And since then, all of the individuals who were staying at this encampment site have moved. Now, advocates who work with people who are experiencing homelessness have told News 6 they're concerned about this because a lot of the shelters in the area are closed, and they're worried about where these individuals will be able to seek safe shelter. Homelessness is an issue certainly affecting Central Florida and something that we have been looking into a lot over the last several months. Joining us now is News 6 investigative reporter Donovan Myrie. And Donovan, I know you've been looking at some statistics and breaking a lot of this down, and this is just such a concerning issue affecting our community.
Yeah, Julie, it's a concerning issue. It's a big issue, and it's a complicated issue because um, you've got homelessness, you've got a new state um, anti-camping, anti-sleeping in public law, and basically communities are finding themselves somewhat caught in the middle. The state says you can't sleep in public spaces, so where people used to just sleep on the streets or under a bridge or something like that, no good. You can't sleep there. On top of that, communities can now be held liable for that because, say, I saw somebody sleeping under a bridge, I complained to the community. By Florida law, the community has 5 days to tell that person they can't be there. And basically, if they do not do that, I can then turn around and I can sue that community. So I could sue Orlando or Winter Park or Oviedo or wherever it is for not moving those people along. As you said, now we have a problem because, hey, you can't be here. Where can you go? And we've seen that problem down in the Soto area of Orlando, down by Cayley Street, where the city was sitting on a multi-million dollar property. The residents of that area said they didn't want it in their neighborhood, not in my neighborhood. And basically that plan has been shelved. So where do the homeless go? And that's the big dilemma these days.
Yeah, and Donovan, it just seems like there are no easy answers to this. And, we mentioned that a homeless encampment that was cleared earlier this week, and the shelters in this area are full. And so it, begs that question, where do people go? And when we're talking about Florida ranks pretty high when we're talking about homelessness across the U.S.
Yeah, we put together later on today. We're going to do some statistics. We're going to have some data. We're going to have some local data. We're going to have some county data. But this graphic right in front of you, okay, this is our national homelessness statistics. It's basically color coded. The darker the color, the higher the homeless population in that state. You can see Florida ranks fourth in the nation for total homeless population. Above it, California, New York, and Washington State. And what all of those four states, plus five, six, seven, all the way through 10, what they all have in common is the highest homeless populations are in states with very, very high real estate and rent prices. So, as you saw in Mike Valenti's story, in his story earlier this week and the story from last night, he had an individual, the guy says he has a job. He can't find some place to live. So basically, this is not somebody who, I don't have a job, I'm destitute, I can't get everything together. This guy has a job. And basically, he sleeps in a tent, gets up, goes to his job, comes home, sleeps in a tent. Where he's going to go, that's the big question for him.
And Donovan, that's part of what is so, sad and troubling is like you said, we hear of this, the story, the gentleman that Mike Valenti featured, that's not an unusual story. If you're on TikTok, you see people living in their cars who have jobs and just cannot afford rent because we've covered in a lot of our stories, rent continues to go up. The property insurance crisis, all of that factors in to what we are dealing with, and so many people are hurting with this. And when you were talking about Florida ranking fourth in the state or nation, I was like, oh, I wonder why. And then you got to that, and it makes so much sense. Although it's just, I keep using the word sad. It's just more than sad. It's just so troubling.
Yeah, and yeah, you're correct. Last night I was speaking to a friend of mine that I went to graduate school. She works in public health, and she lives in Seattle. And I was telling her about the national statistic map because we knew we were going to do something with that today. And she just basically said, "You do know why there's a problem in Washington State?" And I said, "Washington State surprised me." She goes, "It's Seattle. It's Seattle. It's all the big tech companies that moved in. And as they moved in, prices went up and basically priced people out of their own homes." Portugal has the same problem where a lot of people have moved into Portugal since the pandemic. Those house prices went up, and you find people in Portugal, they can't afford to live in the homes that they grew up in because people are coming in, people are buying them. They can't afford to rent those places, so it's a problem. The prices are high. The people, their salaries aren't keeping up with the prices, and what are you going to end up with? You're going to end up basically on the street. And Julian, one more thing to talk about. In the morning meeting, we're also speaking about who this affects the most. Our news director asked, is there kind of like this atypical person? And a bunch of us kind of chimed in almost all at once. What we're seeing is a lot of older people. And the scenario that's playing out is, say you're an older couple, you're doing okay in Social Security. One of those two people, one of the spouses passes away. Suddenly, that single Social Security check and whatever savings you have isn't enough to sustain the high rent that you're dealing with. And the next thing you know, you don't have a place to live.
That just seems so unfair. You work your whole life, you pay into Social Security, you do everything right. You're supposed to be able to enjoy your golden years, enjoy all the hard work, and then suddenly you find yourself homeless or having to go back to work. We've done so many stories when we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about people in their 70s who have to go back to work, and that just is so wrong.
Right. And you'll find people with, "Oh, I have this home. My insurance went up so much." Okay. My property insurance went up. I'm in a condo. My HOA fees have just absolutely skyrocketed because of the Surfside collapse. And now the condominiums have to have a certain amount of money for repairs. So it's one thing on top of another that doesn't help. But speaking of help, before I did Take Six, I was on the noon show with Bridget, and one of the questions Bridget asked me before we went on TV, she said, "Who do you turn to when this happens?" And I said, one of the first things is you can't wait for it to happen. If you have an idea that you're going to have a problem, or sometimes it does just come out of the blue. Your home might be involved in a fire and you find yourself homeless. But if you realize that, hey, the numbers aren't adding up, we do have help. One of the numbers to call, it's a very easy number to remember, 211. 201 is the Heart of Florida United Way. That is a great place to start if you're having problems with homelessness, if you know someone is having problems with homelessness and they can help with that person. Also, the Homeless Services Network, they are an Orlando based advocate. They're also the ones that count the homeless. And later on today in the 5 o'clock show, I'm going to be doing a story. I'm talking about deep, deep data. I'm talking about those counts. The counts are known as PIT counts, point in time counts, and we're going to talk about that data that we get from the Homeless Services Network.
Okay, Donovan, and you mentioned a lot of resources for folks watching who maybe didn't have time to catch all that or write it down. I know that there's an entire section on clickorlando.com with some of this work you've been doing. Where can people find it?
Yeah, that's going to be at clickorlando.com/homelessness. And how this kind of started was last summer, a bunch of newsroom leaders got together and decided, we have common problems. Okay, basically the news business isn't what it used to be 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. What are some of our common problems? And within that kind of ecosystem collaboration, they ended up doing a partnership. It started off with 9 newsrooms. It is now up to 12 newsrooms. And what those 12 newsrooms have done is they have come together and they are partnering on one particular story every 6 months. And the very first story that we picked was the camping ban and homelessness and how it affects people around the state. We are halfway through. On clickorlando.com/homelessness, you'll see my web story that went up live this morning. I have a giant infographic, and Julie knows I'm infamous in the newsroom for my infographics, with data about local counts, counts for our counties, and then the national counts. And then tonight we're going to be going into that more in our 5 o'clock show.
All right, Donovan Myrie, thank you so much. We will see you on TV at 5.
Thanks, Julie.
We are continuing to follow that breaking news out of Tallahassee. We told you at the top of the show that there have been reports of an active shooter on the campus of FSU. This is live video coming in from Tallahassee, from Florida State University. You can see obviously a large police presence there. Florida State University sent out a couple of tweets. The first one sent out at 12:02, urging everyone in the area of the student union to shelter in place, saying that police were on scene or on the way. And then they sent out another one a few minutes later telling people to continue sheltering in place. Here we are looking at Tennessee Street on the Florida State University campus. We have several ambulances there, police presence, police moving about with sirens and lights flashing. So we're waiting to get more information. One of the tweets said that police had responded to an active shooter near the student union. We do not have information such as if that shooter has been apprehended or if anyone is injured or casualties. It appears that likely that shelter in place is still ongoing. But again, we have EMS and fire crews out there, as well as law enforcement responding to what has been reported as an active shooter situation. We see a McDonald's there. Again, this was Tennessee Street. Obviously, this video, it's a fluid situation going on out there, so that's why the video doesn't necessarily look edited the way you might see it sometimes on our newscast. So again, we will continue to stay with this and bring you any updates throughout this show, as well as on air all day, clickorlando.com, and on TV on News 6. Now we are going to take a short break, and when we get back, we will talk more about our burn bans in effect, our extended forecast, of course, your Easter Sunday forecast, and Matt Austin will join us talking about something called Bieber. Not what you think. It actually has to do with population growth. Stay with us. We're back in 2 minutes. Time now is 12:44. I'm Julie Broughton. Welcome back to Take 6. We are continuing to stay on top of breaking news. This is a developing story out of Tallahassee where we have heard reports of an active shooter on campus at Florida State University. This is live video. Everyone in this area, in the area of the student union, is being urged to shelter in place. This appears to be, we were looking at Tennessee Street. It appears to be some students out and about here. We have not had confirmation or reports of any injuries. If this active shooter situation is still ongoing, we've been monitoring the Florida State University Twitter as well. And as of the most recent tweet, they were urging students to still continue sheltering in place. Looking at this, it does appear that some streets are shut down, but there isn't as much of an urgency with the law enforcement and the ambulances. It doesn't appear, as we've seen a little bit earlier. So again, we are waiting to hear if this active shooter has been confirmed, if they have been apprehended, and to get word on injuries or casualties. We will continue to stay on top of this story for you throughout the day. Now, did you know that 1,000 people move to the state of Florida every single day? That's a lot of people, right? There is an organization that you may not have heard of that is, their whole job is to count these people and to advise cities and governments on how many people they need to account for in the coming decades. That organization is called Bieber, and Matt Austin gives us a look at how they work.
Let me ask you this. What do you know about Bieber?
Justin Bieber or some other Bieber.
Tell me what you know about Bieber.
I really don't know about Bieber.
No, not this Bieber. I'm talking about this one, the Bureau of Economic and Business Research.
We have been doing the official population estimates and projections for the state of Florida since the 70s.
Researchers at UF in Gainesville are contracted by the state legislature. They tell cities and counties how much growth they must accommodate.
We do population estimates every year. Then we produce also annually population projections going into the future out to the year 2050.
Richard Doty is one of 4 people crunching the numbers for all 67 counties.
What are the areas of Florida that are growing at a pace that people might not know if they weren't in the numbers like you are?
Well, if you spend any time driving up and down I-4, it's probably no surprise to you that the I-4 corridor is exploding.
Doty says Orange, Osceola, and Polk counties are seeing the biggest population booms. In the next 25 years, Bieber predicts Orange County could surpass 2 million people. Osceola could near 1 million. Doty says the other counties are not far behind.
Volusia, Western Volusia in particular. Seminole, there's limited land available actually in Seminole, but there's a lot of redevelopment occurring, particularly along the major corridors, and that's increasing residential densities.
So how does Bieber get these numbers? Well, they don't use birth and death rates the way the U.S. Census Bureau does. In fact, they use power numbers. Power companies like Duke and FPL tell them how many people turn their power on and cut it off. And that's how they track housing units.
We think the reason our estimates have performed so well historically is because we have that data and the Census Bureau does not.
In fact, Doty says the Census Bureau recognized Bieber for its accuracy.
We won the national championship in estimates.
I love that. That's right. The Gator boys stay hot. Is that what they say?
That's right.
New drought numbers come out every Thursday, and parts of Central Florida are under severe drought conditions. That means more counties have been added to burn bans, including Orange County. News 6's Angie Quesada joins us from the Florida Division of Forestry office in Orange County.
Yeah, even Smokey the Bear behind me says that the risk is high, and officials say that this is just the start if we don't get any rain soon. A fast-moving brush fire in Melbourne had smoke stretching across I-95 Wednesday, burning more than 30 acres near homes, businesses before crews could get it under control. It follows other fires across Central Florida in recent days. Lake County fire officials showed us just how dry conditions have become, with hurricane debris still scattered on forest floors.
It is literally like saltine crackers. If someone was to pull their car over in this debris to make a phone call, the heat from the catalytic converter could cause this to combust.
Much of Central Florida, especially Lake, Marion, and Volusia, is now under severe drought. And now new burn bans are in effect, including Orange County as of yesterday. That means no outdoor burning, no yard waste fires, no bonfires unless it's permitted. And crews are urging everyone to clear brush from around their homes, stay alert, and be smart because one spark is all it takes. Reporting in Orlando, Angie Casada, News 6.
We have an update for you now on the breaking news we've been following out of Tallahassee. The CBS affiliate in Tallahassee, that is WCTV, is now reporting that 4 people are in the hospital after an active shooter was reported at FSU's campus. Around 12:01, the university tweeted that there was an active shooter near the student union, urging students to shelter in place. You're looking at video now out of Florida State University. This is Tennessee Street. I'm not super familiar with the FSU campus. I would imagine that this is near the student union. You can see people out walking around again. You see some ambulances pulling away. Streets are blocked off. We've also been told that all classes and activities today have been canceled at FSU. Again, there were reports of an active shooter around 12:01 in the area of the student union and Tallahassee at Florida State University, and the CBS affiliate out of Tallahassee is now reporting at least 4 people are in the hospital after an active shooter. We are continuing to follow updates. We'll be getting more information from CBS crews there. We have crews on the way as well. We will continue to follow this story for you throughout the day across all of our platforms. Now, as you just saw from Angie Casada, we are talking about a lot of burn bans across Central Florida. Unfortunately, we don't have any significant rain in the forecast. Here's a look at our current bans. All of the counties shaded in red. That includes Volusia, Orange, Lake, and Polk County. And we get new drought numbers coming out for you every Thursday. Our latest drought monitor showing that little tan swath you see from parts of Volusia County through much of Lake County and Sumter County showing severe drought conditions. We have moderate drought conditions in place as well, and just about everywhere in Central Florida at the very least experiencing very dry conditions. This is not changing. Here is our radar. It is sweeping out for you, not finding any showers to track. We've been pinpointing several brush fires throughout the week, and the sensitive fire weather will continue. Now, the criteria has not met red flag warning criteria because the winds are not elevated enough. Satellite and radar imagery showing we're seeing clear skies, dry conditions. It is 80 right now in Sanford. If you're in Orlando, you're at 79, 77 in Melbourne, and 78 right now in Ocala. Here's a look at our sustained winds. You see along the coast, we have a little bit of an onshore component to our winds, a little breezier along the coast, 16-mile-per-hour winds right now in Cocoa Beach. The rest of us across the interior experiencing winds generally around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Clouds and rain forecast. I mean, it's beautiful outside. It feels nice. That's the good news with this. The bad news, we really need some soaking rain without lightning to come in and help somewhat ease these drought numbers. That is just not in the picture. In fact, we're going to keep it drier than normal, I would say, as we head through at least the next couple of weeks. Our normal high this time of year is 84. That is exactly where we're going in Orlando. We'll go to 85 in Kissimmee. The Villages, your afternoon high will be around 87 degrees. 7-day forecast showing a warming trend as we head into our holiday weekend. 85 on Friday, 85 on Saturday, your Easter Sunday up to 89 degrees, and we'll be in the low 90s for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we are putting a chance of a few showers in the picture for Tuesday and Wednesday with our overnight lows staying mild. Once again, we are staying on top of breaking news out of Tallahassee, where there have been reports of an active shooter. Once again, the CBS affiliate in Tallahassee, that is WCTV, is reporting 4 people are in the hospital as a result of that active shooter near the student union at FSU. This is live video right now from Tallahassee, where you can see a large law enforcement presence, streets blocked off. All classes and activities for the rest of the day have been canceled. We are waiting to learn more about injuries as far as if that shooter has been apprehended. And as we continue to get more information, we will bring it to you across all of our platforms throughout the day. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We will see you later on News 6 Plus as well as on TV starting at 4.